Imagine you find yourself in deep water in the dark, with no way of telling which direction leads to safety. Perhaps swimming forward will leave you further into the direction of safety or further away from it. The truth is, you just don't know. The crucial reality here is if you stay in the water, you will eventually exhaust yourself and drown. This is what it's like when we experience low mood. But the key thing to understand when we're experiencing low mood is doing anything positive, no matter how small it is a healthy step in the direction you want to go. When we feel low, it's harder to make simple decisions we'd easily make when we're feeling better. Should you call in sick to work or see if you can push through? Should you eat something which takes the edge off, or should you eat something nutritious and healthy? Should you work out or have a rest day? The tricky thing with making decisions like these when you're feeling down is that the low mood convinces us to make short-term decisions which inevitably make us feel worse in the long run.
That's a problem for future Homer. Man, I don't envy that guy.
And while we make these sometimes bad decisions which provide us with instant relief, we're also aware of all of the better decisions we could be making but aren't. Further fanning the flames of our perfectionism and guilt. Further fanning the flames. Try saying that after your bowl of cornflakes. So the most important thing we need to realise when we're experiencing low mood is we need to make good decisions, not perfect decisions. As the psychologist Dr. Julie Smith says, a good decision is one that moves you in the direction you want to go. It doesn't have to catapult you there. The key thing is to make a decision. Secondly, when you are feeling low, it's important not to burden yourself by putting extreme expectations on your actions. Instead, work with yourself and pick one small change you could action, no matter how trivial it might seem. Whenever I get stuck in a low mood, just brushing my teeth or having a cold shower or just any shower is always enough to create the positive momentum I want to get kick-started in my day. So remember, you'll have to create the momentum you want to see. I'm like a lizard. I love lizards. The most psychologically damaging part of being stuck in low mood is the negative self-talk and self-criticism it sometimes sparks. It's easy to chastise yourself for all of the things you're not doing, the rut you've got yourself into, or the potential you're not currently actualising. But if this negative self-attack and self-criticism is something that you struggle with, then I have a frightening technique you can use to counteract this. Think of someone you love unconditionally. Now imagine they were speaking to themselves in the same way as your voice of negative self-criticism talks to you in your head. How would you respond to them? What would you want them to have the courage to see in themselves? How would you want them to speak to themselves instead? Self-compassion doesn't have to be some mushy, gushy overindulgence of narcissistic love. It can simply be you holding yourself accountable in the same way as you would a best friend, cheering yourself on after taking a positive step towards taking care of yourself, or picking yourself up to go back out there and have another go. In a previous video I mentioned my friend Austin, who lives in my head. He's got long blonde hair and he looks like a surfer dude. He's probably 4 or 5 years older than me. I've never asked him. And I talk to him whenever I need some accountability or some encouragement, and he always delivers it in a form of brotherly, sometimes tough love. I know, I should go and see a shrink, probably. When we feel down in the dumps, our first instinct is to think about all of the things we don't want to feel. But sometimes it's more helpful to think about how we want to feel instead. A great exercise you can do for this is filling out something called the cross-sectional formulation, which has been crucial for me in understanding my rut patterns and low mood. I'll show you on the whiteboard quickly. Forgive my badly drawn diagram. Well, it's like that teacher who always gets up to draw something on the whiteboard in school and is like, oh, don't worry, I'm not an artist, and then they draw something banging. Not to say that's banging. Now, there might be a situation that has contributed to you being in a low mood, so that's what you can use as a point of reference when you're filling out this cross-sectional formulation, which is quite a wordy thing to call it. Let's just call it the diagram of love. No, let's call it the psychotectural diagram of mental alchemy. That's much simpler. Like I said, the situation will be your point of reference. Now, it could be anything. Someone said something to you and then that sparked some childhood reflections, or, you know, I don't want to dig into your problems, but thought could start off as being, I'll never make progress, or I'm worthless. And then the behaviour that thought sparks could be distract myself on YouTube or listen to sad music. That's what I used to do when I was 17, distract myself with sad music. Bodily sensations, maybe that makes you feel tired, heavy and weak. And the emotions that sparks is depressed, defeated, despairing. This might seem like quite a daunting thing to do, but what it allows... But what it allows you to do is to map the process that's going on so you can get a bird's eye view on it and actually see what's going on. So that gives you an understanding of the process that contributes to you being in low mood. Now, using the exact same process, try and think about the feelings and thoughts you want to cultivate. So maybe you change your gremlin thoughts for the autopilots of, I'm not perfect, I can only do my best, and I value myself. Behaviour? Maybe you drink a glass of water and cook a nutritious meal. Something where you're taking care of yourself. Bodily sensations? Cared for, warm, energetic. Warm? Emotions? Clearer, grateful, calm, loving. So when you're doing the exercise for cultivating the feeling that you would like to create, consider these. When have you felt that way in the past? What has been the focus of your attention? What might your thoughts or self-talk need to sound like in order for you to feel that way? When have you felt that way before? How did you behave? What did you do more or less of? If you were to feel that way, how would you need to be treating your body? When you are feeling at your best, what do your thoughts sound like? What do you tend to be focused on? What does that inner voice sound like then? Lastly, before we end, there's one more imagination technique that I would recommend for you to do in order to deal with low mood. Take a moment to imagine that when you stop watching this video, a miracle happens, and a problem that you've been dealing with over the past few days or past few weeks suddenly is resolved. What would be the first signs the problem has gone? What would you do differently? What would you say yes to? What would you say no to? What would you focus your energy and attention on? What would you do more or less of? How would you interact with people differently? How would you structure your life differently? How would you speak to yourself differently? What would you be free to let go of? So to conclude, whether you're dealing with low mood right now or you're using this video as a way to plan ahead, I wish you all the best in creating the positive momentum you deserve. This video was based off a chapter in this book, Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before by Dr. Julie Smith, and I really recommend this. This is like a mental health Bible. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos like this, so see you in the next one.